Professor, may I ask a question
Yes,
before we
sure.
start?
Yes,
Regarding the quiz, I see that they're in Word format, and I'll download them. But should we submit somehow the answers, or they are only for our own to test ourselves while studying?
yes, this is for your own.
For our own.
Yes,
Great.
I didn't design multiple quizzes for this course. I did it one time, and I thought no, it's better. And
Yeah, like
this
that is
is
better because we can test ourselves. And
yeah, yeah, that's why it's test your knowledge. It's not
yeah,
a test per se, but it's test your knowledge. Actually, the assignment are much more important in my point of view because um, I try to find something similar to what you will find in real life.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's yeah, so it's like um, on the job training, as they say.
Exactly.
Yeah, so let's start by recording.
In the
Hello,
real life, no one
everyone.
will ask us about quizzes and to say ABC.
Exactly.
They'll give us a task, they'll give us a project, and we should deliver it till the end.
Yes, exactly. Although in some technical jobs, you might have a technical test or a take-home test or something like this, but even this tends to be assignments or a problem that you solve, not choose one answer from multiple answers or fill in the spaces or something like this. Yeah. I save this for the final exam, and the final exam will come from these test your knowledge. So it will be easy for you if you keep up with your readings. The final exam will not be a problem. Okay, so um, oh no, this is not the right one. Sorry, guys. Sorry, just a second. This is not the right one. Today we will talk about some of the meat and potato. Um, no, actually, it's the right one, but it's the second half, yeah, of project management, and um, we will work together on couple of problems that or projects, and we will see how we can apply the concepts that we learned. So we talked about the different organizational structures and how each organizational structure has pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages. We touched a little on uh, the culture, but we will talk more about this. And uh, we touched a little also about the project management office. Some of you created dedicated units within the structure to manage projects. And even with the project management office, we have different types. It depends on the mission of this project management office. So, who works in a company that has project management office or a dedicated unit to manage projects?
Yes, myself, Muhammad Matar.
Yeah. So why?
Actually, the project management in our company is very essential for the customer service because
Mm-hmm,
we have huge projects. We consider installing not an instrument but solution that interfere many departments like
mm-hmm,
logistic, like sales, like CS, like operation, like back office work, uh, like. Uh, Other departments as well. It needs
mm-hmm,
someone to coordinate and to control the actions, plus control the cost, calculate the risk, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things like that.
Mm-hmm. So in your company, project, because your company is projectized company, right?
I'm sorry, but what do you mean by projectized?
Projectized. It means
Yeah.
that most of your revenue comes through projects, not
Uh,
operation or production.
yes, yes, you consider, yes, you're right.
Yeah. So like construction companies,
No, myself,
for
I'm
example. Mhm,
Healthineers company. I'm working in Siemens Healthineers company, so I am responsible for selling, not myself, but the company is selling
mhm,
equipments for blood diagnosis
mhm.
and installing it, maintaining it. So the main revenue is coming from selling the reagents, selling the instruments, and maintaining it.
Okay, but each of these customers, you consider them like a project, and there is a dedicated team working with this. And of course, the installation is a project by itself.
Yes, the installation for big instruments, yes, you
Mhm,
consider as a project. But frankly, I consider each installation is a project because it is a project. It's something
mhm,
start
mhm,
and end in a proper time. And although it is smaller than the bigger projects, but at last it is a
mhm.
project.
Yes, yes, yes. As I was saying, also construction companies, for example, this is a very, very evident example of projectized or project-based business, because most of the revenue comes from a, a building new projects. Uh, Property management might have also different projects, but again, because the contracts tends to be longer, so they are more likely operation based, but they might have a small project management office. And the type of the project management office, we have four different types. Based on the mission of this office or unit or business unit. So some project management offices work as weather stations, so they just track what's happening in the project. They don't interfere much. Um, the the functional area manage the projects. The project manager might be hired from within a specific functional area, and the project management office just to monitor the progress or the performance and report on the project management and report on the project progress. The second type is control tower. So here, no, there is some sort of interference. Um, the mission of this type of project management offices is trying to improve a project execution. They might um, collaborate with the project team on how we can better implement the plans or create better plans. The third type is resource pool. It's just a pool of trained project managers, project coordinators, maybe contract administrators, all these professionals that the project manager will need to work on the project. The last type is the heavy duty one. So, and we call it command and control. So they have a saying, they have a direct authority on managing the project from even the inception or the initiation when it is idea. They work with different departments on creating the feasibility study, studying if this project is a better fit or not, until they close the whole project. So it depends on um, uh, what do we need from this this business unit, and goes hand in hand with the project structure or the organizational structure, is the organizational culture. And we talked, I think, about this last time. And I shared these slides with you. So there are different ways to define the organization culture. This way is mentioned in your book. We have other tools, and even the national culture of the location of the company affects the culture of the company. For example, let's say a company like Microsoft. They have um, they have their main offices near Seattle, and they have offices here in Canada, in Toronto, and in Vancouver. And they have offices in the Middle East. They have offices in India. They have offices here and there. Do you think these offices have the same organizational culture? Based on the feedback that I get from someone who really worked with them in different locations, each location has a different feel. And you will find that even the national culture tainted the organizational culture in a way or another. So this is a model. And actually, if you search online, you will find a website done by this professor. This professor actually passed away many years ago, but his company and his institute continues working on this. And you will find that there are certain dimensions that affect the national culture that in turn impacts or affects the organizational culture. So it's a very good read, and I really encourage you um, to go through it. Also, if you check this website, the Culture Meter, it's a very good exercise, and actually you can apply it on your current company so you understand the culture of your current company. So it's a questionnaire. It will ask you different questions about the dynamics of work within your company, and they will try to calculate some index, and they will tell you if your number is between this and that. These are the characteristics of your culture. So in the book, they include these dimensions, and you will find that these dimensions affect your project. So where the members get their identity, from the job or from the organization. For example, those who work in Google, what they call themselves. Do you know what they call themselves?
Googleian.
Googlers. They call themselves Googlers. I'm a Googler. Uh, 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 Also, you will find that people who work in certain organizations, when they introduce themselves, they put a lot of emphasis on the organization they work for. Think of people that work for the UN, for example. So where the identity comes. Where is the emphasis on the individual or on the group or the team? Where we put our focus on the task or the people who are doing the task? How we do integration between different units? Do we have silos, so independent business units, and each unit is its own universe. They are doing their stuff, or we have a way to coordinate at least on a high level between different units. The control, is it loose or tight? How much do we delegate, and how do we delegate? The autonomy that we give to different units and different people in the organization. The top management risk tolerance. Are we risk averse, and we have very low tolerance to risks and appetite, or no, we have higher risk tolerance, and we might initiate new initiatives, we might go to new markets, we might experiment with new products. Also the reward, is it focused on the performance or other things? So how we reward, is it and even the performance of the whole unit, or individual performance, or maybe it's a hybrid. Also, how much do we appreciate functional conflict, or the good type of conflict? Do we avoid conflicts and we pretend that we are a big happy family, or we encourage good conflict or functional conflict, and we use conflicts as a way to grow and improve. Also, this is a little bit Machiavellian, where again we focus on the means or the end. So as a manager, I will come to you and I say, I don't care how you will do it, just do it. Also, are we focusing internally or externally? Or we have a hybrid or a balanced view of internal factors and external factors. This is a very good read for you to go through. Then we started to talk about the project itself. Okay, now we talked about the organization, how the organization is supporting the project through the organizational structure, through the culture that supports the project. So now let's focus on the project itself. So our project will go through different phases and constraints. I think I will have it here. Constraints. Yeah. So we call this the iron triangle. For many, many years, we used only these three as constraints: cost, of course, or the budget, the scope, what we will do, and the time or the schedule of the project. Later, we introduced the quality. So the quality standards. We want to do the best thing with the cheapest cost and the fastest implementation, for example. In real life, you cannot do this. In real life, there will be some trade-offs. If you want higher quality, you might pay more, or you spend more time, or you eliminate parts from the scope. And later, we found that no, there are other factors also affecting this. For example, risks, So maybe if I want to increase or decrease the time, there will be other risks than if I take longer time to do it, or if I will lower the budget and I hire not A-type professionals, I might risk the performance and so on. Also, the resources available to you. So think of your team. If the company gives you all new graduates, for example, they might lack the experience. So this will affect the performance of your project, and there might be some trade-offs. So we will go through the different stages of the project, and of course it will progress through time, and also we will use parts of the budget allocated or the cost allocated to this project, and also the staffing level. I might start the project with a limited number of team members, and then more team members will start working with the project until we reach the closing phase, and everyone goes to their their units. And of course, we start with the project planning. Okay, and there are so many things with the project planning. Even before step number one, identifying stakeholders, I would add defining the scope, getting down to or boiling down the what is the scope of this project. This is big, this is huge, because everything you add um, to the scope will affect the other constraints. If I, for example, if we are working on a software, if I add more features, it will affect the budget or the cost. It will affect the timeline. It will affect the type of resources that I need in this project. So I think before identifying the stakeholders, we need to define the scope. Then we will identify the stakeholders who um, will impact this project and who will be affected or impacted by the project. So it's not only those people who have a saying in the project. So if I'm building a new building downtown, for example, the neighborhood will be impacted by this project. Politicians will be stakeholders. The general public will be stakeholders. Even journalists, those who will report on the progress of this project, or maybe some environment activists who do not like high-rise buildings to be built in downtown or the core of the city, for example, also will be stakeholders. And we will spend some time on identifying different stakeholders. And for these stakeholders, of course, this includes your team members. Stakeholders include the sponsor. Stakeholders include other departments that might impact your project, or you might deploy this project in different departments or in a specific department. So also, we might have some internal stakeholders as well as external stakeholders. And ironically, we might have what we call phantom stakeholders. Uh, uh, those people or entities or groups that perceive themselves part of this project. Even in real life, they are not. For example, the example I gave, we are building a high-rise building downtown. And some activist groups, you know, they might be part of your stakeholder analysis, but they think that they have a saying because we are interested in, I don't know, gentrification, or we are protecting the rights of the homeless people, and your high-rise building does not support the homeless people downtown, for example. So for you, you don't see exactly why they think they are part of this project or they should be consulted. But again, as long as they raised their voices, you have to consider them part of your stakeholders. And you identify their roles and their responsibilities and also their impact. Maybe there are these group of journalists that are writing lots of articles about your project. So they are like a live wire. So you need to communicate with them. Then you will hold the project launch meeting or the kick-off meeting. Uh, you will uh, set certain goals. So in the in the scope, you already have the objectives of the project. Here you will set lower goals or smaller goals, or you will take the big objective and you will divide it into different goals. You will prioritize tasks. You will create a schedule, and we call it the schedule baseline. And this schedule baseline will be part of your project management plan. You will do risk assessment of the project, and based on the risks that you will highlight, you will create risk management plan. And here is something very important. Back in the day, we only used the word risk to refer to threats or negative risks. Something bad will happen. And a few years ago, the Project Management Institute included opportunities as well. So risks are uncertain events that will happen. Some of them will have positive impact, some of them will have negative impact. Positive impact are opportunities, negative impact are threats. So you need to understand these risks and to discuss with your team if something like this happens in the future and it is an opportunity, how we will seize this opportunity. If something like this happens in the future and it is a threat, how can mitigate or respond to this threat? Then you will communicate the plan. Right now, you have your project management plan that includes so many things. It includes the scope management plan. It includes your cost baseline. It includes your schedule baseline. It includes the risk management plan, quality management plan, resource management plan, your work breakdown structure, and we will talk about this today. So you will have a big fat document called the project management plan that has so many other documents. And remember, this is in predictive approaches or methodologies. When you have a very robust planning process, this might not work with certain projects that have adaptive or like agile, like in the IT, the Scrum. I talked about this earlier. You might have a more flexible plan because you discover things as you go. You will use these plans to perform, to execute the project. And throughout the project execution, you will have different milestones. So what's the definition of a milestone? Have you heard of this word before? Milestones?
Milestone is the certain dates, or at this point, we must accomplish or finish these tasks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Milestones is actually coming from the word mile plus stone. So back in the day on the road, they used big stones to indicate that you are in the mile 50, then 51, then 52. Right now, when you go on the highway, you will find that you are at the 500 kilos or 300 kilos or 200 kilos. So these were stops along the way to inform the traveler where they are, how far they are from the beginning, and how close they are from the destination. So in project
So Hanan,
management, yes,
I think milestone is used nowadays as a general term for any big achievement or significant achievement for even in personal life, not only in project management.
yes, I know,
Correct me if
yes,
I'm wrong.
yes, yes.
Sorry
Uh,
for interrupting. In our company, we use it as when we have a significant stage or specific event in a project. Because we're working on pharma project, milestone can be first patient enrollment, because
mhm,
we have 1 million things to do before to prepare the study, to set everything so we can enroll the first person. So one milestone for us can be first patient enrollment.
mhm,
Another milestone can be last patient enrollment, because we have planned to enroll, for example, 100 or 1,000 patients, depending on the phase of the study. So when we are going to that point, we say it as a milestone. So it's a significant stage or some event during the project. So it's not necessary to be like a specific date, because sometimes a milestone cannot be fixed like it will be 1st of January 2024. Of course, we have deadlines and so on, but sometimes we're um, having not predict. This could be like
yes,
EMA or
yes,
FDA, some agencies,
yes,
some permissions. Uh,
yes, yes. Well,
yeah.
remember, we are studying project management, so I have to add the context of project management as well. So yes, as you said, Muhammad, even personal, on the personal level, you have these milestones. So these are big events in your life, or maybe on a strategic level in the company when we enter a new market or something like this. But most of the time, there is a date attached to this, especially in project management, because remember, always remember the project constraints. The
But
the
sorry,
biggest one,
doctor.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry. In our case in software engineering, I think it's related to deliverables,
yes,
milestones.
yes,
This is
yes,
how we measure it. I don't know
yes,
if it should be aligned with the timeline or not, but it should be aligned with deliverables.
or at least aligned to a range. So, for example, by the week 2 or by the week 3, we will finish doing all the user stories, analyzing all the user stories, and we will consider this a milestone. And again, in the predictive approaches, you will find that milestones have dates, definite dates. In the adaptive, because you are in the IT sector, so you are most of probably you are using Scrum, Kanban, extreme
So we use
programming.
Scrum. Scrum. Our
Yes,
company is using Scrum. Yes.
yes. Some other companies use Agile or Agile, as they say. So in adaptive approaches, go back to the lecture that we talked about different project management methodologies. We have a level of flexibility that's not available in predictive approaches like waterfall, like Prince. We have more predictive. It means that by this date, we have to finish digging. Why? Because we have a contract with the cement and concrete company that they will have to come and do their work. So the idea here is that we divide the project into these small stages, and we have these milestones that confirm that we are on the right track. So that's why the concept of milestones is important, because now you know that you finished 30% of the project. When you reach the next milestone, you know that you reached another 30% of the project, for example. It depends on the industry, the context of the project. It will mandate how do you come up with these milestones. So now we are working, we are using our plans, we are reassessing our plans. There might be some risks we are dealing with. There might be some opportunities. For example, you are working in software. Some of the team members was working half their time with you and half the time working on another project. And in the middle of the project, your project, this team member finalized the other project. And now they have the ability to work all their time or 100% of their full-time equivalent with you. So now you can accelerate the progress of the project, for example. For example, we had a budget by the municipality to perform certain project, and in the middle of the project, the federal government approves extra budget or part of the budget for this project. So now we can accelerate the project, or we can add more features, or we can add something to capture this opportunity. And then once we finalized and we finished the project, we will conduct a final evaluation. And to do this, there are certain areas as a project manager you should manage. The first one is the scope, what you are doing. And actually, we protect the scope so much because any slight change in the scope will impact all the other areas. Also, the time management or the schedule. Cost management. That's why we have also a cost baseline, to use this baseline to evaluate, am I within the limits of spending or not. We have resource management. It's very important. And it goes hand in hand with stakeholder management, because we communicate with the stakeholders. So we do stakeholder analysis. And based on this analysis, we design our communication management plan. Also, quality management. So what are the quality standards? How we will accept or approve the deliverables? Where or when I will do an inspection? Where or when I will do audits? Where I will get these quality standards? Are there any standards that I have to use? Are there any mandates that I have to comply to? Some of these might be internal, within the company. Some are external, enforced, for example, by the client or the government. Also, very, very big in project management is procurement management. And procurement, you are not only sourcing or purchasing products, but you also sourcing or purchasing services. Or you might outsource a part of your project because you don't have the capacity or the technical background to do this part. So again, this is part of your project management plan. That's why I'm saying it's like a sandwich and you have all these layers. And of course, risk management plan, how we will deal with uncertainty. And we try to anticipate anything that might happen in the future and what's the best way to respond to these uncertainties, whether positive as opportunities or negative as threats. So today I want to focus on the scope management plan, requirements management plan, and scope baseline. So let's have a break for 10 minutes. And we will be back at 11:12. Okay? Hello, hello. Let's get back to the class.
Oh, hello.
Yes, hi, doctor. Excuse me, doctor. Can I
Yeah.
have a question, please,
Yes, sure.
before we start? Is there something called meta project in the project management? And this
Meta
expression, yeah, meta project.
I heard the mega project.
No, meta project as something. I don't know. Yeah, this is expression. It will be used because I faced like this in my company a few months back, and the company came to making something what they called meta project to in the company. But this expression, I asked if you there's
Okay.
something.
Okay, I did a very quick uh, quick search. I can see something called the Meta Project. Excuse me, anyone who talks?
I was about to speak, but I'm
Not
waiting
me.
for Dr. Hanan, because what I know that Meta is a project in Facebook, and it's already like launched like few months back. So this is the new
Meta by the Facebook?
yeah, Facebook Meta.
We heard about this. I think, okay, from my quick search, they are trying to connect this to the metaverse that's launched by Facebook.
No, it is something. Actually, we are contracting group
Mm.
company. We are a group of companies, and including many companies, and they are trying. There is a third party consultant came with idea to make
Mm.
something like meta project between the cluster of the company clusters which we have, to making something like merge or to do something to evaluate and enhance the internal performance in the companies and the cooperation between each companies. And they
Mm.
call this as a meta project. It is not actual project will be implemented, but
Okay.
it will just something like virtual or something not real, but
Yes,
acting
because
as a project.
because what I can see, these are even in Coursera now they have a course on this. They call it combines elements of virtual reality, augmented reality, gameplay, and other elements.
Yes, something like that.
So
Yeah.
so this is a project, but it's like in the virtual world. And actually, oh my God, that was in 2011 when I was doing my master's in planning. And actually, one of the professors came and introduced, it's somehow something like a gameplay was done by Microsoft, and another also again gameplay done by another company to simulate planning at the provincial level. So instead of doing these plans and actually implement it, and then we discover that these plans are bad.
Oh, sorry, my microphone is on.
You would what? We cannot hear you now, Judy.
So the colleague said
Yeah,
his microphone was open, and he just turned off the microphone.
yeah. And also we had another also gameplay about the democratic process and how also could be implemented at the municipal level. So I think this is again, this is virtual reality, augmented reality, and they have the game theory principles to have these simulation projects at the high level, so we see the possible outcome of such decisions before that we really implement it. It was really good, and I worked with the team working on this democratic process, and we kept introducing new stakeholders. We kept changing the hidden agendas of different stakeholders, and we saw how this will impact and affect the outcome of the project. So this is very interesting, very interesting.
Okay, I will try to I will send something maybe in private mail for you
Yeah,
to show you the project scope itself,
yeah.
which it is came to us to maybe it will be useful for, I think, because I already worked in this and participate in this
Mhm.
project as a part of the attendance of the committee selected to handling this meta project in
Yeah,
our company group.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
doctor. Okay,
So
thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So back to what we will do, because again, this will be part of the work that you will do in your assignment. And by the way, I hope that you finalized your groups and you selected a project, because right now I want you to implement these concepts on your project. So for example, when we will talk about stakeholders, you will have a meeting and actually you will use these concepts to identify who are your stakeholders, and you will analyze them, how you will communicate with them, the goals and objectives of each stakeholder. Also, you have to work on the scope. What's the scope of this project? Because remember, I gave you a budget, I gave you a timeline. So you have to make sure that you can do the project or the scope within the limits that you have. Also, I have a suggestion. If you start a Google Doc and make it shareable with me, so I can see your work. It's like a living document. Um, so I can see your work and the different sections that you are adding. So I can give you my input um, um, before waiting until the end of the course until you get some feedback. So I think this will be uh, uh, this continuous feedback loop. I think it will be very beneficial and goes hand in hand with the scope is the requirements. And again, we start by identifying the stakeholders so we can solicit. This is very interesting word. We don't collect requirements, we solicit requirements. And there is a huge difference. Collect as if it's easy, you know, requirements are there and you are just picking these requirements. But the word is solicit, there is some sort of an effort exerted. And actually, we need to be very deliberate when we are collecting the requirements. In predictive approaches like waterfall, you need to have all the requirements up front. That's why we might spend more time at the beginning of the project on the planning phase. In adaptive approaches like Scrum, like Agile, like Kanban, we might start with, let's say, 60% of the requirements or 70% of the requirements. And while we are working on the project, we might solicit other requirements. That's why some approaches have more flexibility. So it depends on the field, the industry you work in. For example, in predictive approaches, no, we cannot start unless I have all the requirements. Because, you know, it's not a flexible approach. And we create from these requirements, we create the scope baseline. The scope baseline is a document summarizing everything that will be included in the scope of the project. This is a very, very important document because it's related to one of the biggest constraints of your project. Any change will impact all other constraints. That's why we have also a change management plan. For example, you are working with a client, and the client, let's say, has 10 requirements. 10 requirements within certain budget, within certain time frame. And while you are working with the client adds another feature. Now, there will be change. So you need to have a way to evaluate the change requests and to approve or disapprove and deal with the consequences of approving changes. So in another class, I had a student working in telecommunication company in India. And he told me about a project in rural India. They were installing communication towers, and their company was assigned only to do the installation of the hardware. And the client asked that engineer to do the installation of the software. So the engineer went to the project manager and he said, actually, this is a very easy task. It will not take maximum 1 hour. And the project manager said, okay, let me go and ask the headquarters. And then he came to that engineer and he said, no, we cannot do this. So my student, that young engineer, actually, he was furious. And he mentioned this example as an example of bad project management. So we had a discussion and we found that that their company were not assigned to do any software implementation. There is another company that will do this. There is so many risks, and actually we through the discussion we highlighted so many risks of doing something that outside of the scope, and how it might impact the performance. Maybe something will go wrong. Maybe the company that install they have assigned the being assigned for the installation will sue the customer. Why did you do something we supposed to do? Or they will consider this a contract breach, or they will decrease their warranty conditions, for example. So many things. So that's why the good project manager actually observe the scope very well, because any change will impact all other constraints. So now this is very important. These are the steps that you will do on your own projects. Okay, so you need to start with by defining the project scope. Now your projects are tied to one of the sustainable development goals. So you need to understand the goal, to come up with ideas, to select the right project, and then to define the project scope and set project priorities. Based on the scope and the priorities, you will create a breakdown structure for the work until you reach the lowest level of the work packages. You will see who is in the organization will do this work, or maybe you have a dedicated a team. Also very important that we will give the work breakdown structure some codes. You will see it if you are using Excel, for example, or if you are using a project management tool. You need to give a unique number or a unique code to each work breakdown structure. So no two tasks have the same number. This is very important. So you will define the project scope. So it's what's the end result, what's the mission. Also very important to have some smart goals for your project. Everything should be tangible. Everything should be as specific as possible. You should also define the deliverables. For example, are you delivering a software? Are you delivering a document? Are you delivering a tangible product or products? Again, you will sit together and you will discuss this. So these are some of the elements that you might include in your project scope. Of course, the objective of the whole project. Some description of the deliverables included in your project. Some remarks why these things are included. The deliverables, the milestones. Again, because one of your constraints is time, so when you define your milestones, make sure that you have a date or a range of dates. Technical requirements, where you will have these requirements. Are these inputs from the customer? Are they mandated by the government? Another thing very, very important. The scope will include what's included in the project, but also what is not included in the project. So this is very, very important. Why? I'll tell you why. Because along the way, you will have this scope, and this will be part of the contract. And the contract with the client will define what's included and what's excluded. So, for example, if I'm buying office furniture, for example, and the contract doesn't specify who will pay for the delivery, this might lead to a dispute in the future. So the company will say, no, 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 go to the contract. It doesn't say that we will have the delivery or we will cover the delivery costs. So inclusions and exclusions and limits should be very, very clear. Another thing that should be included in your scope is acceptance criteria. So these deliverables, how will you accept these deliverables? Maybe there is a test that you will do. Maybe there is an inspection. Maybe you will hire a third party to assess the work and do the inspection or the audit, for example.
Doc, in this case,
Yes.
the limits and exclusions, this is what we call assumptions and constraints in the project, right?
No, these are different. Assumptions are information that you are not 100% sure that they are correct or valid, but you have to include it because you need to start. For example, we will say the exchange rate is, let's say, 1.6. Here I'm talking Canadian and US, 1.6. But there is a trend that this might reach 1.7. So we say, okay, for the 6 months, we assume that the exchange rate will not be higher than 1.7. Constraints, these are the okay, I have to find another word other than limits, because these are related basically to the project scope, to the project timeline. For example, you have a deadline for this project. Limits might include some other things. For example, if there are some technical capacity for some hardware, for example, or something like this. Exclusions are things that you will not do in this project, but might be needed, but it's not your responsibility to do it.
This is what we include in the assumptions. This is what we do here. In Oracle Unified Methodology, they include the limits and exclusions in the assumptions. I think, yes.
Well, because the project management field is not so rigid, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
And actually, each company, sometimes we have definitions for these terminologies. So what do we mean by these words?
Understood.
So, yeah.
So,
Okay.
Hanan, please highlight more like executions, because limits, I totally understand limits. Maybe in our field, there is like some mechanical capacity limits, let's say for our station.
Yeah.
But executions are something you can do, but you are excluding this from your plan because
Yes.
it's not like urgent or important.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
It's not important, but it's not included. Maybe it will cost more time or more money.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So for example, if we are building a building and we say, okay, we will not be responsible for the waste of the construction. So the owner has to commission another company to come and clean the site and take the garbage or the rubbish or the waste.
Can we say out of the scope?
Yes, it's out of scope. Actually, these are the words that we use. What's in scope and what's out of scope. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, in this case, Doc, that if I have a project like location-based project and I have to travel somewhere else, then I have to mention this in the project scope
Yes.
that if I travel the per diem, it will be on the project or on the customer. This is what
Yes.
you mean. Yes, this is
Yes.
like a real example, right?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Yeah. So also we have different statements or different documents included in this stage. We talked about the project charter last time, and we said this is a high-level document that gives life to your project. It includes a high-level description of the scope. It's not detailed, very detailed, like the scope statement or the scope baseline. So it's mainly has high level information about what is the project, a brief description of the scope of the project, what it's about, some of the risks. When we say risk limits, you might come across other terminologies. Actually, we will study it later. Risk tolerance. So we can say those risks that might cost up to $10,000 could be dealt with at the project level. More than $10,000, it has to be escalated to higher senior management, for example. We can include a brief of the business case that we built to justify the project. Also, budget approvals. So, for example, the project manager had the authority to approve or sign off any expenses up to a certain limit. The sponsor up to a higher limit. And of course, maybe someone in the senior management if it exceeds this. We can also say we include some of the decisions. Also, if we have a high level understanding of the team and who will be involved. And remember, we have the charter very, very early in the early stages of the project. Then we create a scope statement. Here we focus more on the scope itself. So we might give more explanation of what's the scope and the elements included in the scope. And sometimes it has another way to say it, statement of work. So these documents are different. The charter is different than the statement of work. Have you heard this word before, scope creep? So what's the meaning of the word creep? Even in movies, they say they creep me out. So it's something not favorable that moves slowly. I have a fear of spiders, for example, and oh my God, now I will put myself in a panic attack. So even the way they move creeps me out, you know. So this is a phenomena that happens in projects that the project manager and the team did not define the scope well. So the team keeps adding and adding to the scope while they are working, expanding the functionalities or the requirements, or even changing. So I'll give you an example. So you chose a paint color, and you worked with a contractor, and okay, we will have this green color, and this is the number, and so on. And your wife goes in and see, oh my God, what's this pure green? I don't like it. I hate it. So you go to the contractor and you say, you know, I don't like this green. Let's move to something light. So now, if the contractor will accept this, they have to treat the walls differently. Maybe this will expand and it will delay the project. Of course, it will cost more time and more money. So if they will come and they will say, actually, no, the scope defined that we will use this green, this is the number, and this is what we used. If you want to change the requirement, you have to pay extra money and you have to allow extra time. So that's why this is very important for you as a project manager to protect the scope, because any change in the scope will affect other things in your project. And also, the more time you spend on planning and creating a robust and sound plan will save you this possibility of scope creep. Because scope creep sometimes happens when we did not define the requirements well, and we discover that, okay, to make this happen, we have to include other steps, and we did not include these steps in our calculations. For example, you did not include priming the walls because you assumed, again, for the assumptions, you assumed that these walls are in good conditions and they might not need priming. So you come and you start doing the work, and you discover, oh my God, now we need to add these steps. So now the scope expands, and of course it will affect other things. So that's why when I tell you your limitations or your constraints, certain budget, certain time, you have to work on the scope and make sure that we have all the tasks related to the project, and all these tasks could be done with the budget, within the time, with the available resources. Maybe, yes, we can do it, but we don't have the available resources right now. So when you don't spend enough time and effort on soliciting requirements, this might lead to scope creep. Also, for example, you did not include the person who will do the painting in the scope definition. So actually, based on your information, you don't know anything about wall priming. But if you will include them, they will know. Or your mistake, the mistake of the client, that they did not include their wives, for example. So they chose the color without another user or another stakeholder, important stakeholder. So you need to involve the right people and involve it at the right time, early. Also, some projects are too complex, and if you don't dig deeper, you might exclude some steps. this is very important, lack of change control. We did not have like a form or a template that the customer will sign to say, okay, if I will change my mind, or I will add more requirements or do this, I will cover the costs. Yes, Muhammad?
So, Dr. Hanan, to conclude what you are saying, that we have to include our wives in all projects we are involved in to be safe. You mean?
That's an example. Yes. You don't include your wives in everything. You include the right people. That's why sometimes in some projects we might hire a third party, and we call it independent estimator. So these independent estimators act as consultants to give you their opinion, of course, their educated opinion about certain things, so you make sure that you did your estimation right. Another terminologies, and those who work in the IT are familiar with this, gold plating. Have you heard this before? Gold plating. Okay, there is let me show you a graph for this. Let me share the right screen. This is something that we do a lot, or we see it a lot in especially in IT, but not necessarily in IT, also in construction and and real estate development. I have seen it, is that when your client expects certain outcome and you want to amaze them, or maybe add something, so you add unnecessary features. So these unnecessary features will cost you more. It will not impact the level of quality of the product that much. And again, it's unnecessary. So, for example, this example of wall painting. Let's say we need 3 layers of paint, and we decide to add a 4th layer. So the effect on the quality level is marginal, and it's unnecessary because we can do 3 layers, and that's very sufficient. But we want, to add something, or mistakenly we add these unnecessary features. So this again might lead to scope creep, because I have to wait until the 3 layers fully dry, and then I will ask the painter to come and use the paint, and it's another more time, and I might need to wait until the 4th layer dry, and so on. So again, this is unnecessary. So you need to be very to scrutinize what exactly is needed and what's not. So any question so far? So these discussions you will have to do with your teams when you are discussing your projects. So again, you are trying to protect your the constraints, because any change will lead to a trade-off with the other aspects. Okay. And actually right now I have read an article that now they reached 10 constraints. So for example, one of the constraints is sustainability and ethics. So they are expanding on this. Based on the scope, you will start working on your work breakdown structure. So it's a hierarchy of the details of the work, the task that we need to perform to satisfy this scope. Also, it will have some relationship of different deliverables. So, for example, your deliverable might be one big deliverable, but within you will have sub deliverables or sub parts that you are doing. Work breakdown structure is very, very important because you will track your costs and your performance against the work breakdown structure. You will also assign these tasks to certain people in your team. So here it is. We start, of course, with the final project. And we divide this project into the major deliverables. And for each deliverable, we might have sub-deliverables. And we go on and on and on until we reach the work package. So the work package is the smallest component of a task. And you might find in your organization a definition of the work package. For example, I worked in a consulting company, and our department head said that the work package is a work that is done in 30 minutes or less. When I went to a real estate development company, the work package was any task that will be done in 100 hours or less. So each industry and each company might have a perception of the work package, but these are activities and you cannot divide it anymore. Also very important to link these activities to a cost account. So we group different work packages together so we can monitor the progress and who is responsible. And sometimes we use it for accounting purpose as well. And again, we will talk in detail about this. Okay, you can read this, but it's a description of the work breakdown structure and how it will help you and your team to identify different work elements, how these will integrate. Also very important because it depends on the project hierarchy. If you have a dedicated project teams, that might be much more easier. But if you don't have a dedicated team, maybe you have functional or you have a matrix organizational structure. So you might require the involvement of different departments. Also, you can see what type of skill this work or task needs, so you can assign it to the right person. You can see how much it will cost you, how long will it take, and also you can see that sometimes the output of some task is the input of another task, and you need to do some calculations to see the critical path. This is a very important terminology in project management, the critical path. So this is the path of certain tasks that will be the longest. For example, this painting, the wall painting, I will not be able to install the windows or the doors until the paint fully dries. So this is the critical path in this project, maybe room renovation or something like this. So here is an example coming from the tablet. You know, it's a prototype of a certain tablet. So what are the elements, the main elements of the tablet? So we have hardware, we have CPU, and we have other items. The hardware, we divided into the next level. We have frame, camera, speaker, antenna. The frame might have components. The camera might have other components, and so on. So you can see there are levels to the left, level 1, level 2, level 3, until level 5. We can actually go more than this. Back in the day when I was a mechanical engineer, we had what we call product tree. So we list all the components of the product to the lowest level. So even screws. So we divide everything to the lowest level. So until we reach the work package. So in this example, they reach the work package at the level 5. In some projects, you might go to the level 20. It depends, you know, on the how complex your project is. But you want to make sure that you reach the lowest level of your work breakdown structure, because these are the tasks that you will assign to certain people. It's in some organization is the shortest duration, and it has a start point and an end point. So the example that I gave you, our manager actually assigned us 30 minutes tasks. In other organizations, that will be too rough. What are the resources consumed doing this task? What are the costs of this lowest level? For example, doesn't exceed 10 days or one reporting period, for example. Again, these are examples. Your organization might have something different. You can say in you know, when you are working with your team, we will only reach level 5, for example. We will not dig deeper than level 5. In real life, you have to dig deeper until you reach the lowest level. And you use these units for your planning, your scheduling, controlling the cost and other parameters of your project. So in the work package, you have to identify what will be done, how long this ideally will take, the cost of this package, the resources needed, who will do this, and how will you make sure that this task adheres to the quality standards that you have for the project? So maybe there is a test, or maybe there is a certain approval, or some inspection, or some audit, or something like this. Let's have another 10 minutes break, and then we will continue with the rest. Do you have any question? Okay, so it's
I
yes,
just have a small question, Doc.
yes, sure.
Here you showed an example for the work breakdown structure on the activities. It's not on phases. Can you go back to the chart? Yes. This
This one.
is not project. Yeah, this is not project phases, right?
Okay, there are
We build,
certain, yeah.
yeah, we build the work breakdown structure. We build it on project phases. Let's say here we need to design the eSLIM tablet. Then we need to build it. So we
Okay,
have the analysis phase, design phase, build phase, then we go production, something like this.
yeah,
Can you correct?
there are different approaches to do the work breakdown structure, and even this will be reflected on the way we express it. So one approach, usually with with um, with tangible products, you go and you base your breakdown structure based on the components of the project, the product. Uh, in services or hybrid project that have services plus products, you might base your work breakdown structure on um, uh, uh, differently. For example, if we are organizing an event, let's say a concert for celebrating the graduation of our students at Windsor University, for example. So we have maybe venue, invitations, activities, food, venue, search for venues, then contact different venues, finalize the agreement with the venue, book the venue. So, and sometimes we call it verb approach or noun approach. Verb approach when you describe an action. Noun approach when you describe something. So again, under work breakdown structure, we have different approaches, and again, it will depend on um, um, the industry you are in and the approach the project manager chose to work on the breakdown structure.
Thank you. Understood.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, in real life, we have a hybrid. So you will have the deliverable might be a tangible product, but under this you will have some actions. That's why we call it a task. So a task could be design something, or test something, or install something. So again, it depends on the industry, the project itself, and your approach. That's why I'm telling you only 5 levels. No, we go deeper than 5 levels. Yeah. Any other question? Okay, so it's 12:04 now. We will come at 12:14. Hello, hello, welcome back. Okay, let's continue what we were talking about. So this is one of the main tasks that you will do for your project. Of course, you will do a work breakdown structure. So Not to complicate things for you, I want you to reach level 5 only. Some projects, of course, will be very, very complicated, and you might go to so many levels. So to make it easier on you, just reach level 5 and consider level 5 is your lowest level. Okay, so those tasks or components at the level 5, we will consider these your work packages. Okay. Okay, so it's very important also to use your work breakdown structure to see how you can integrate these elements to the organizational structure. I don't think that you will do this in your assignments, but this is for your own knowledge, that there might be different departments responsible for different work packages, and part of your responsibility as a project manager is to coordinate this work. So for example, here it shows, here is the organization. We have different departments. We have design, quality control and testing, production, outsourcing. Here is your work breakdown structure at the top, and uh, uh, you will assign who is doing what. And see the numbers. Have a look at the numbers beside each box. So we have here the tablet is 1.0, then hardware 1.1. So if you see 2 digits, it means that this is level 2, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and so on. Then under the CPU, we have 1.2, 1.1. Again, 3 levels. It means that we are at level 3, and then level 4. And you can see that each box has a unique number. This is very important. Of course, if you are using a software, the software will enable you to do this easily. So we need to design a coding system. Once you see a number, so for example, if I see 1141, this means I'm at the level, so level 1, 2, 3, 4, at the level 4. So, and it's a unique number. For example, here we have 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. So this is which level? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 level. And we use these numbers to, of course, identify each work package, to assign it to who will do it, and also to assign it to a cost center for accounting, and also to create the work breakdown structure dictionary. So you will create a dictionary in your project management plan, explaining what each of these boxes mean, and also the relationship between different work packages. So this is coming directly, I believe, from a software. So you can see here the tasks and the subtasks, and Again, it might be a hybrid approach using nouns and verbs to explain and express the work packages, specific numbers. And in the dictionary, you will find an explanation of these. And here is what I was explaining. Again, some will be processes. Some of your work breakdown structure will be processes. So again, you can also do it. This is what we call noun or verb. Noun, it's it talks about certain thing. Verb, it talks about the process to do this, and it will be linked to the different phases of the project. Back in the day, the waterfall methods were used in the software industry, but right now we are sailing away from the waterfall. But again, there are still processes. We call it, for example, iteration or Scrum. That's why you will find certain jobs like Scrum Master, for example, the product master, the product manager. So we have a process, but it's less rigid than the waterfall. So here you can see the verb approach. So these are activities. Okay, so we have the software development project, and we have different phases. We start with analyzing, designing, constructing, testing, and rollout. And for example, the design, we have different activities or processes or steps. Define user interface, develop technical design. It starts with a verb, it meaning that you will do something. Establish quality requirements. And even in production, we use this hybrid approach when we have a noun to express the component. And then under this, we have activities. So you will do both. You will have the work breakdown structure, and then on top of it, you will add the process breakdown structure. And again, you will give unique numbers for these activities, and you will include it in your work breakdown structure dictionary. Any question so far? I know this class is heavy with concept. Yes.
Yeah. So what we are going here in our project is just like our past assignment in the past courses.
No, the project I'm talking about your assignment, not class assignment. The group assignment.
Yes, I mean yes, that's it.
Yeah, the group assignment. So you will do these things for your group projects.
Yeah, like we did in our personal assignment on your previous course.
Which course you are referring to?
What is that? What's the last course that we just took?
Something that I taught.
Yes.
Did you attend the project management?
No, it's not the project management. It's
supply chain, you mean?
Logistics.
Yeah, logistics.
Yeah, but the focus here is on your project. So you are part of a team, and your team selected a project.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
what I meant is it's just like what we did before, that we need to do everything research.
Yes, yes, you will apply the concepts. Yes, you will apply the concepts that we study here on your group projects. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now we are in a stage that we have our work breakdown structure, and we reached the lowest work package. We gave a unique number to each work package and each component in the work breakdown structure. We have some nouns, we have some verbs, or we have some components, and we have some processes or steps. Now we need to assign who is responsible for what. And we create a responsibility matrix. Sometimes we call it RASI. So this is a chart that shows the different tasks that we need to do and who is responsible for each activity. In this, you might have different levels. Someone who will design the activity, someone who will perform the activity, someone who will inspect the activity, someone who will approve activity, and someone who just need to know, FYI, for your information. Okay. Also, those people might have different authority levels related to decisions, related to changes, related to approving budget, and so on. So we have here a very binary way. So either responsible or support or assessed. In other organizations, okay, where is this? Yeah, we have more here. You can see responsible, support, consult, notification, and approval. So someone for the same activity, for the same deliverable, for the same work package, you will find there is someone responsible for it, someone to be consulted. In some other ways, someone is accountable. What's the difference between responsible and accountable? Let's say a testing that will be done by the quality control unit. Okay, so there is someone who will perform the test, so they are responsible, but there is someone else who is responsible for the or accountable for the results. Let's say the department head. So the department head will be accountable for this task, but it's not necessary that they will do it by their hand. Or someone will write the code for something, so they are responsible, but the product manager, for example, will be accountable for this code. Is it right or wrong? Or if something wrong happened, I will go and I will ask the product manager, for example. Some people just need to be notified or informed. In some other literature, you might find informed. So they need to be in the loop and know about this, but not necessarily they have active role. And some other people will approve this. So they have the authority of final approval of something. So you can see that this is a responsibility matrix that include different roles. Again, it depends on your organization, your approach. You might assign other roles. So again, back to the scope. What's included in the scope statement? For example, here in this example, the scope statement is huge. In some organization, the scope statement might be just few pages. So the scope statement include statement of work or the mission statement, what we are doing. It will include how we will procure, or no, actually this is the where we can use the project scope. We will use it in risk identification, and we will include in the project scope high-level risks. For more information, I will consult the risk management plan. But in the project scope statement, I might include high-level risks. I will include some of the resources, how I will approach this project, how I will implement it. If there are some design, the scope statement itself, or the scope of the project, what's included, what's not included. If I will commission a third party, how I will validate these deliverables. And also, we need to construct a project communication plan. But I want to talk about communication after we talk actually about the stakeholders. Because we start with the stakeholders. And each stakeholder will have a certain interest in your project and certain power to impact your project. And the definition of a stakeholder is any group or entity or individual that could impact or impacted by your project. And there are so many ways actually to categorize stakeholders. This is the easiest one. We have several matrix, we have several approaches. We have a matrix that has like 11 or 12 different categories of stakeholders and how to deal with each category of the stakeholders. However, this is the easiest way. So BDF, these are certain stakeholders, might be groups and might be individuals. And for each group or individual, for each stakeholder, we will assess how much they are interested in the project and how much power they have over the project. So if they have just low interest and low power, maybe we keep them informed, Yeah, we not keep them informed with the details. No, just a general or very, very high level information. Maybe the general public. For example, we are in a, in the city, and we are doing some infrastructure project in a rural area that has, no effect or no immediate effect on or impact on the residents of the whole city. So for the general public, I will just issue a press release, or I will include it in the newsletter, some high-level information. If they have low interest, but they have high power, again, high power, we want to satisfy them. We want to make them happy. Because if we aggravate them, they will get more interest in the project, and now they have the power to impact the project. Maybe they have the power for budget cuts, for example, or maybe scrapping the project altogether. So we want to make them happy. If they have high interest but low power, let's say some activist group or something, we just keep them informed, usually telling them about the milestones of the project. We reached this stage, we finalized this. The most important ones, those with high interest and high power. Think of the sponsor, for example. The sponsor of the project have high interest in the project because they are assigned to this project, and they have high power. They can make your life hell, or they can support you and maybe negotiate something with the senior management to make your life easier as a project manager. So we need to manage them closely. So this is part of your task for this week in your group assignments, that you will identify the stakeholders of your projects. Think internal and external. Also, don't forget to include your team and sub-teams. Don't forget to include the sponsor. And do this analysis. And this is a qualitative analysis. It means that you need to discuss with your team members to assess the level of interest or the level of power. And based on this analysis, you will construct your communication plan. Throughout the project, you will do lots and lots of communication, because you need to get some information. You need to solicit requirements. You need to disseminate the information. Who needs to have access to certain information? How will you communicate with these people? So shall we use formal communication channels or informal communication channels, verbal or written? Is there a platform that is preferred? Who has access to certain information? Even if you are using a software, you will assign who can access certain information, who can generate certain reports, who can receive certain reports. Also, when, for example, in Scrum and Agile, some teams, they have daily stand-ups. So daily meetings where they communicate on daily basis for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, for example, and it's informal and it's verbal and just the discussions. And maybe at the milestones, we have a more formal meeting where you give a presentation. Maybe we have monthly reports that you have to send to the sponsor, for example. So your communication plan should include this. So you start with the stakeholder analysis. Who are your stakeholders? You will assess the level of interest and the level of power. And this assessment is crucial because it will dictate on you the frequency of communication, the way of communication, the type of information that you will include. So some of the information that you will include could be status reports, issues. And there is something different, issues and risks. Risks are uncertainty or problems that haven't occurred yet. Issues are problems that happened. So if this issue or this problem happens, who I need to contact? Any changes in the scope or the requirements, team status meetings, gating decision. Again, if you read your material, there is the gates approach. So we set gates between different phases. So in this gate, we have a meeting to discuss what happened and to prepare for the next phase. In IT, we call it introspection. So we have some introspection meeting. We might call it other meetings, but it's like a gate that we stand at to assess what was done and what needs to be done. If there are any change requests, what is accepted and what's not, any action items, any milestones. Also, your communication plan might include the source of information. For example, project status reports. I will use the software to generate these reports, but where the information comes from? It comes from the team members, for example. How we will disseminate the information. Shall we have hard copy? Maybe we keep a copy in the archive. Are emails sufficient? Maybe we will have a teleconference, or maybe we have a SharePoint platform within our organization, and so on. And of course, the responsibility matrix will be part also of your communication plan. This is an example of a communication plan. Of course, your plan might include more information or more description. You might organize it in a different way. So it should include what and the target audience, or who will receive this information, when they will receive it, daily, weekly, bi-weekly, and even here, when needed or as required. The method that we will use for communication, and who will provide the information. So that's an exercise I wanted you to do, but I will save it for later. What I want you to do, we will wrap up our meeting. You have 30 minutes. You can meet now and have a discussion about your project. So let me open the file and see what you're supposed to do this week. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. Okay, let me share the screen. So any question? Any question?
Professor, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you please clarify? We have the duration of the project of 6 months, or a preparation for the project 6 months, because we misunderstood it in the group.
So again, what's your question?
The duration of the project should be 6 months. So this is our aim, to develop a project that will continue 6 months.
Yes. Yeah, the project is 6 months, but your planning or creating the project plan is only until the end of the term. So the 6 months is the the timeline for the project itself, and it will impact your scope. For example, okay, I'll give you a real example here in the city I am in. One of the projects were to create a wind turbine farm to generate energy. Another project was to build a light rail connecting the city with another city. So the wind turbine can be done within the 6 months, but the light rail, actually, it took 5 years. So this is one of the constraints, and that's why I gave you, select a project fit to this window, only 6 months, and within this budget, the $500,000. But your planning, so this is the planning phase, will be until week 14. You will be working on the plan. So,
Okay.
yeah. So right now we are in week 3. So I suppose that you finalize selecting your project, and you make sure that your project is small enough to be done within 6 months and within the budget. So one of the documents that you need to do is create a project charter. So the project charter will include the scope, the objectives, who are the stakeholders, and of course the initial budget and the timeline estimates. And the second deliverable is your stakeholder analysis. So you will list all your stakeholders, and you will create a communication plan based on your analysis. Okay. The matrix says interest and power. In some literature, we use influence. Yeah. So I hope that you have some time to sit together and do this. Later, you will be working on the work breakdown structure and creating the schedule. So any question, whether about the assignment or the principles or the concepts that we covered?
Yes,
Yes, Professor.
in our model.
Excuse me?
Do we have the Excel sheet in our model? Because it's my first time to see it.
No, it is.
Okay. Maybe I haven't checked.
So,
Because last week I didn't see it.
the rest of you, can you see this in Moodle?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. It's under, okay, I'll tell you where exactly it is. It's in group assignment after week 2.
The Sustainable Development Goals, right?
Yeah. So it's exactly like this. It has the different goals. We have 17 goals. Okay. And the first tab is the explanation of the assignment.
So after we sit together now, are we returning back to the lecture?
No. I will end it here because I'm really extremely tired. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Salamat, doctor.
I found it, Dr. Hanan. Thank you so much. Because I'm using the mobile, I had to switch that abstract to find the last week. Yeah. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
perfect. Okay, and if you have any question, email me on my my personal email. So again, I will write my email. for you to okay, yes, Ahmad, you raised your hand.
Yes, the project should be like, should we choose a project with, or the project that we will choose, should it have a commercial side, like a return on invest, a monetary return on investment, or it can be the value to the society?
Well, it depends. It depends on if, you know, if, for example, if it's hard to say because it's very subjective, because you need to discuss um, uh, um, uh, with your team. So, for example, if your goal is to eradicate poverty, for example, so maybe the return on investment might not be here. However, it could be IRR, internal rate return. It means that if I invest this amount of money in another project, it's better. So again, your discussion will show this. Your discussion will show this.
The discussion is based on the SDGs.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Because when I the Google, there are 17, so we need to choose on that 17.
Yes, one.
Okay.
Even I gave you here the one sorry, the goals and their sub goals. So you can see here all the goals and sub goals. So which group doesn't have a project yet?
Us.
Okay.
We are very late.
Are they the same group or two different groups?
So, Dr. Hanan,
Martin is
we
my
are
group.
two
We
different
are looking
groups,
for one.
Yeah,
but we can merge.
we are looking.
We were discussing this morning if we can merge, like Judy group and my group.
So how many people will be in the group?
5.
5. Okay, maximum 5. And there's a reason for this, because when the group is large, we tend to have some people working and some people are not working and not contributing much. But when you have a small number of people in the group, everyone has to work. Lesla, Yazat?
Can we generate our own project within SDGs?
Yes,
Or it should
you
be
will.
exactly.
Yeah, please generate your own project within these goals. Yeah.
Yeah, and we just need
So now,
to provide some explanations why we choose it, isn't it?
yes, and it will be part of your charter.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So when we were talking about the charter and we said it's a high level, so you will include some information of the business case that you did for this project. So here in week 3, you will start with the project charter, and it will include some of the high level justification of why you have this project. So did you choose a project, Liazat?
Yes, actually, and we had yesterday discussion, yesterday I think, because we were not sure about can we generate our own or we need to choose one exactly from SDG. So now you clarify this issue, so it will be more easier for us. And there is one more issue because we didn't know can we, for example, to choose non-financial goal, because it seems for us very important to this project, but it's not non-financial. Actually, it's more social.
Yes, yes. But your project is linked to one of these goals, right?
To SDG. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 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 So that's why if you created a Google Doc, you can share it with me, so I can brainstorm also with you and give you support. And this is for all of you. Start a Google Doc and give me access to it, so I can I can support you when you are working on your project.
Thank you, Professor.
Dr. Hanan, we are using Asana. Can we add you as like a member in our Asana group?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I mean we are not using Google Docs, but we'll be using
You
Asana as
Asana,
well.
yes, yes. And for all of you, Asana is a team management, and sometimes we consider it a project management tool and platform online, that you can use to communicate, use it to assign certain tasks to certain people. Uh, I didn't specify any application because I wanted, you know, I didn't know if you will be familiar with certain tools or not. So it's up to you to use whatever you want. Okay, so please start working, because as you can see, this is an extended assignment, and I try to divide it into manageable parts that you can do. And actually, these are milestones. Remember when we were talking about the milestones? So we can set here at the end of stage 2, you reach the milestone. At the end of stage 3, you reach another milestone. And also to link it with what's in the book, you have here gates. So maybe at the end of week 3, you will have a meeting with your team, and you will discuss what was done or not done and what we have to do next. So please start working, start communicating with your team member. If you have an issue with a team member, let me know early on so I can intervene and send an email to the team member or something like this, okay? Because this might impact their grades. If they are not, if they are not contributing to the group work, it might impact their grades. Okay, any other question?
So, Professor, how is the grading, one for all?
Yeah, that was the plan. That was the plan, because I assumed that I'm working with professionals, so I didn't need to add some of the tools that we were using with undergrads, you know. So yes, it's one grade for all, unless the group complained that someone was not contributing to the work.
Okay.
Yeah. But
so can we go now in our group now?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So
Bye. Thank you.
okay, I'm not sure what's your the way you you meet. So I will close this this meeting, and you can meet and use the rest of the time together. You will now you have less than 30 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And I will see you next week. And if you have anything, just email me, or maybe use the WhatsApp. Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Goodbye,
much.
Professor. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye, Professor.